Well, hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco with Macabre Daily, and I am joined by someone who I don't think needs much of an introduction. He is the frontman of Ice Nine Kills, Spencer Charnas. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you, Spencer. I can say first and foremost, we are big fans of Ice Nine Kills, and super excited to see your participation in the Terrifier 3 premiere. And I know we don't have all the time in the world, so I'm going to jump right into the questions. But the first one is, you all have quite a year. You've been touring pretty constantly. You've been just working with Metallica on their tour as well. So I'm curious to know, at what point did this collaboration with the Terrifier 3 team come about?
I've been a huge fan of Terrifier ever since it came out, and when Part Two came out, it it even blew me away more than the first one. I thought it was incredible. I remember Bloody Disgusting had hit me up. I think John was the guy who hit me up, and they've been very nice to Ice Nine Kills over the years, giving us press and posting about songs and whatnot. And he said, "Hey, I've got this screener of Terrifier 2. I'd love if you check it out." And being a fan of the first one, I was like, "Absolutely, man." And I was just kind of floored by how great it was and by how how they took it to the next level, because the first one was so brutal and so grindhousey, but the second one had this like even more of a comedic edge,
Mm,
obviously tongue in cheek,
right.
and a sort of a surreal element that was absent in the first one. Obviously with the dream sequences, and I think I was talking to my girlfriend Nadia about this earlier. I think we saw it in the theater like four times or something,
Wow.
and I had been like, talked a little bit with David and Damien online a little bit, but they then because I was a huge sort of ambassador of that film. I just wouldn't shut up about it, telling all our fans, "Go check this out, go check this out." And they eventually came to see us play live at Madison Square Garden, probably about, I don't know, maybe like 2 years ago or something, and just became very friendly with those guys, became very friendly with Catherine and Leah and all these wonderful people that were involved in the movie. Started to do conventions with them, and we just hit it off, and started to hang out socially. And I just kind of went to Damien one day. I was like, "Man, it would be really cool if like we did a song for Terrifier." It feels like the fan base of both the movie and the film are one and the same. All I see at our horror convention, especially, are Terrifier and Ice Die Kill shirts, and I see the overlap. And I said,
Right.
let us do the Dream Warriors or the Man Behind the Mask for Terrifier. And he loved the idea, and he was super into it. Um, and they were just very cool about giving us the reins to kind of play in the sandbox of geniusness that they created. And it was just really natural. And I was so relieved when I finally showed him the demo of the song, and he was like blown away by it. And I showed David the song in my car when we had a meeting with Chris Nelson, the special effects guy, who did an amazing job on the music video. And I showed it to David in my car, and literally he was like almost in tears because he was
Ah,
so floored by it. So it's just one of
that's
those things
amazing.
where there's a great mutual respect for one another between the band and that movie, and it just fell into place.
Yeah, well, I love to see that Ice Nine Kills is carrying on the Dokken tradition that was set in Dream Warriors, that you all are bringing metal back to horror with some themed music. And I noticed that you served as both editor and writer on the video. And I'm wondering, to what extent kind of had you already thought about doing kind of more in the writing space and also the editing world, or was this a first time foray for you?
So I've been very heavily involved in all of the Ice Nine Kills music videos, especially since every trick in the book on. And listen, I can't take credit for all of it. I work with unbelievable collaborators. Andrew Justin Smith, who I've been friends with since I was a little kid, went to elementary school. He writes everything with me. We brought in my buddy Paul Soder, who you would know from Broken Lizard fame of Super Troopers and Club Dread and Beer Fest. Became friends with him recently, so he was able to add a comedic edge there and kind of bring that polished comedy to the table. And we work obviously with Jensen. We've worked with him since Silver Screen One. He's an unbelievable director. His team is amazing, from the producers to the DPs. Like it's just such a well-oiled machine that we have, and it's been exciting to dip my toes a little bit more into the editing and really discovering how much can be changed in the editing room, and how things can be improved or changed with just going to something a frame earlier. And it's just been a wild ride to get to dabble in my other love, which is film. I've been working on music for my whole life and have been a fan of film ever since I was a fan of music. But I'm really starting to get into that other side of the technical aspect of filmmaking, and it's been amazing.
Well, I mean, I think it's an outstanding job, and you're absolutely right about the editing. In much ways, it's very similar to music in that editing has the ability to create the tone and the vibe, much like, as you're writing music, you have a chance to really create that collectively and through your own contribution. And, given that there's been such a horror focus for Ice Nine Kills, I think it's what's, led to so many people continuously showing up for the shows, and particularly your stage show and how impressive it is. What's the approach that you all take when it comes to trying to take, these film ideas and then turn them into these really catchy, fun, heavy songs?
For me, it's a lot of trial and error. I work really closely with our bassist singer Joe Acuti, who's one of the best musicians I've ever met, as well as Drew Falk, our producer, Steve Sobchak, who I co-write the lyrics with, Francesco Farini, who does all the unbelievable orchestral and symphonic elements. And we had a really great palette to play with, because this guy, Paul Wiley, who did the score for the Terrifier franchise, he created such an iconic score for that movie, something that I've missed in horror movies. I grew up on Halloween and Friday the 13th, Manfredini and Carpenter and Marco Beltrami and all these themes that were associated with franchises. And I think that sort of got lost
Yeah.
over the years. I can't hum, things like Paranormal Activity, all those movies are great movies, but there's no score, it's found footage. Saw had a great theme, but I guess my point was I missed having that super catchy, simple thing that you could hum, that you could associate with Jason or Michael or Freddie. And I think Paul brought that back. So we had that really cool palette to work with, of that dum 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 dum.
Yeah.
And we rewrote that song like 2 or 3 times. It was a completely different song at first, and it just sort of found a place in the studio. Came in with an idea for a chorus, which ended up becoming a verse melody, and then the cherry on top was getting Shavo from System of a Down involved in the track, because I've been such a huge fan of that band for years, and I've always gravitated to that harmonic minor sound that System of a Down always implored. And yeah, it was just an honor, and I'm just super proud of how it turned out, and I can't wait for people to hear it and see the song with the visual component of the Terrifier aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, it's to use a term I think I'm borrowing from a younger generation. It's a bop. So it's got a real good catch to
Thank
it.
you.
And again, I think fans of Ice Nine Kills will not only enjoy it for how it speaks to the tone you've all established thus far, but also how you continue to innovate with it. And
Thank
I'm
you.
think having had the privilege to be at one of your shows before, I've seen firsthand how theatrical and fun they can be. So I'm curious to know, do you have any ideas or hints as to how this work of art song and any of the theatrics might make its way into your live show?
Yeah, it's funny because we've been talking about that ever since the video was really completed. And once it was completed, we had sort of all these visual inspirations of things that we did. And I was just on a text chain yesterday with some of our stage actors who are unbelievable and have truly elevated our live show to a very kind of, what we try to do is almost Broadway, a music kill, if you will.
Feels like it.
So we're going back and forth on ideas and how we can play on what we create in the video, and obviously showing respect to what Damien and David have created with the character, and I'm very excited about it. So I think everyone will be pleasantly surprised at what we do.
Well, I know again, having seen how you all handle Saw and Evil Dead and live shows, I can only imagine how just phantasmagoric the Terrifier representation is going to be. And speaking on that note, the video has some, it certainly does have or not even an homage, but it feels almost ripped from the Damien Leone school of practical effects and bloodshed. Is there anything that, for pun unintended rather, that made it on the cutting room floor that didn't end up in the final video that was just too extreme or couldn't put it pulled off?
No, I had a few ideas of. I don't think I could really mention them, but I pitched them, and I'm actually kind of proud that they were too fucked up for Terrifier, and I kind of wear that as a little badge of honor because those guys are so fearless, and I probably was crossing the line with what I wanted to do with it. But man, I'm just so proud of how the special effects turned out. I've become very good friends with Chris Nelson over the last couple years. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. I think that the special effects stuff he does is absolutely incredible. All the stuff in Halloween that he did, and I've just been a big fan. And he's such a great guy, and he was really cool about stepping into this world of Terrifier. And we had several meetings with Chris and the director and David, and it was just like friends having fun, and just really grateful for his for the art that he provided, no pun intended, and his friendship.
Well, I mean, it is a badge of honor to say that you have an idea too messed up for Terrifier. So I would wear that proudly. And my last question for you is hopefully a quick one, but obviously with new music coming out, especially associated with such a well-known franchise now, any inclinations or updates on a new album?
I can't really say anything about the new album, but I think you'll get an idea of what's to unfold when you see the full 14-minute extended cut of this music video that will not be in the theater with the film because it can only have such a runtime. But you will see this extended 14-minute cut online, which I think gives you a little bit of a peek into what is to maybe come.
Well, I'm excited. I know others will be excited. And as a reminder for everyone listening to this, you can get your early look at this music video, the 7-minute version that is, on 10/10 or October 10th during the double feature of Terrifier 2 and 3. And if you can't make it to that double feature for whatever reason, figure your life out and find a way to do it. But if you can't, then you can watch the full thing, as Spencer just said, on October 11th when it releases, same day as Terrifier 3. But Spencer, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. Fantastic work to you and the band on this amazing single. Can't wait to see what you all are doing next, and more to come, I hope.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.